Welcome to the booklet, Violin Major Scales in First Position. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is make sure that when you get this video, and while you're watching this video, scroll down to the description, click on the link there that will take you so you can sign up and receive your booklet for Violin Major Scales. Okay, so it's important to realize that on the violin there are 7 fingerings for all the major scales, and that would encompass all the positions on the instrument. There's only 7 fingerings, so once you get used to that, you're going to really have a great advantage to understanding the violin and the scales on the violin. Okay, now the scales in this booklet are written in what we call a chart form. Okay, so the spacing on the notes, whole steps and half steps, are going to be very easy to see because I've charted them for you. If you were to look at scales on a sheet of music, you see a line going up and a line coming down, and it's hard to determine where the whole steps and half steps are unless you go through and mark them and really understand the key signature. But this helps you to see those whole steps and half steps and the spacings that you need to know. Okay, now these scales are written on the strings on the chart, and the bottom string is the G string and the A string, and then the G string, the D string, then the A string, and the E string, so that you can easily see the strings going up and coming down. Okay, and those are charted out in the booklet for you. So you'll want to play the scales in using the 4th finger on the ascending scale and then the open strings on the descending scale. Now, that's the way I suggest you do it. It's the way I have my students do it. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to do it that way. I usually call the open position using open strings and the first position using 4th finger, so you can shift those to other positions that way. However, those terms really don't matter. The important thing is that we're learning to play it in what some might just call first position. Okay? So, it's good to play these scales with a metronome. I won't be using a metronome today, but we'll be playing them with a steady beat. And gradually start with a slow tempo and then build them up to a faster tempo as you go. Okay? Now also the arpeggios are written in this book, written as the red notes. You'll be able to see the arpeggio. So if we play a G scale, we have the red notes marked, which are the G arpeggio, or maybe called the G triad. Okay? All major scales on the violin have only 4 patterns. Even though there's 7 different fingerings and strings combinations, there's only 4 patterns on a given string, all over. Major scales, only 4. I'm going to play those 4 for you so you can see what they are. They're very simple. If we start with a note, we're going to use the B as the first note, first finger on the 2nd string. We start with the note B. We have a note, whole step, half step. That's pattern number 1, we're calling it. Pattern 2, we have the note, whole step, half step, whole step. Pattern number 3, we have the note, half step, whole step. And pattern number 4, we have the note, whole step, whole step. Now when you learn to play a new song, the most important thing you can do is to start by looking at the key signature. Determine the key. Key and scale are basically synonymous terms. If we say the scale of G, it's the same as saying the key of G. Okay, so we'll say if we're determined that we're in the key of G or the scale of G, the first thing you want to do is play that G scale up and down and get your hand oriented into the key. So when you're actually playing the song, you're not going to put your fingers on the wrong notes, but you're going to put them on that G scale notes. Okay? So the next thing we will do is play the scales for you and the arpeggios. The first scale we're going to play today is the A major scale. We'll play it in first position, fourth finger ascending, open string descending. We will use a nice long bow and a nice comfortable pace. And then we will play the arpeggio the same way. And then we will use a short bow technique using the fingers and the wrist to develop that bowing technique that's so important for playing at a faster pace. Okay, so here we go, A major. Arpeggio. Short bow. Now we will play the G major scale and arpeggio. Now we will play the F major scale and arpeggio. Now we will play the E major scale and arpeggio. Now we will play the D major scale and arpeggio. C major scale and arpeggio.